The American fantasy adventure comedy film called Gulliver's Travels starts with a middle-aged man named Lemuel Gulliver, simple worker in the mail-room of a New York newspaper company. He wakes up in his messy New York apartment and goes on with his morning routine. He talks to his toys on a shelf, and also he loves to dances in the shower. That day he meets a new employee named Dan, and he starts teaching him how to work. Gulliver is Dan's boss in the mailing department as the two deliver their mail. In that day they come across Gulliver's crush. He has crushed on journalist girl named Darcy for a long time. He has been in love with her for years, but he has never confessed. But so Gulliver said to Dan that he can talk to her anytime. They went to the elevator and Darcy came to the elevator. Then Dan went out deliberately to let him talk to her. But Gulliver was nervous and couldn't do it. Later that day, Dan brings out a notice that says he has been promoted to head of the mail department. On his first day, Gulliver has been working in the facility for 10 years, but no one there respects him. Dan claims that Gulliver is scared to talk and he will never progress in life other than his mail room job. Gulliver is walking out of the office and notices Darcy is still working. He gathers up courage and goes to her cabin to ask her out. However, his nerves get the best of him, so instead, he picks up a random paper from her desk and created arguments. And also, he said to her how much he loves travel. So Darcy asks him if he wants to apply for a travel writing assignment. A nervous Gulliver agrees, and now he has to submit a travel blog. He came back home thinking about how and what he's gonna write, until he finds out a way. He copies and pastes several articles from the internet for the blog. The following day at work, he submits it to Darcy, who is impressed by his writing skills and provides him with a new task. She wants him to travel to the Bermuda Triangle and write an article about the legends of ships mysteriously disappearing there. To impress her, Gulliver agrees. Darcy arranges a contact and a boat for him. Gulliver flies to Bermuda the very next day, where he is picked up by a man. He takes Gulliver to a rented boat and shows him how to use it. Gulliver finally sails for the Bermuda Triangle alone in the boat. Because the boat is automated, he enjoys himself for the first few hours by reading magazines and drinking several cans of Coke. Then he slept. After he woke up, he found a massive wave in front of him. A sea storm hits, and he quickly puts a life jacket on. The boat was shaking vigorously in the water. Gulliver turns around to see an enormous sea tornado coming his way. The boat and Gulliver fell in the middle of the tornado. Then in the next scene, Gulliver opens his eyes. He cannot move his body. He looks down and is surprised when he sees some tiny men standing on top of his chest. Their leader introduces himself as the Commander Edward. The camera zooms out, showing us a crowd of tiny people standing around Gulliver. He is pinned to the ground with tiny ropes and wood. Commander Edward calls Gulliver a beast. A confused Gulliver yells in fear, and he easily breaks everything they built. Edward orders his soldiers to bring Gulliver down. The soldiers attach their hooks to Gulliver's pants and make him fall unconscious. When he wakes up, Gulliver finds himself tied to a cart and being pulled into the kingdom of Lilliput. The tiny civilians come out of their houses to get a look at the beast. Edward claims that Gulliver is a spy from their enemy. Gulliver finally asks the king where he is. King Theodore tells him that he is in Lilliput, the greatest nation in the world. Gulliver thinks this is a prank and asks the non-existent cameraman to show himself. In the following scene, we see Gulliver imprisoned inside a cave. He meets a fellow prisoner named Horatio, who was sentenced to life by Edward for trying to court Princess Mary. The two are approached by Edward again, who listens to them, referring to him as lame ass, when an angry Edward threatens to imprison them for life. Gulliver claims lame ass means someone who is brave. Edward takes both the prisoners to a field to plow it. With the help of Gulliver's strength, he restrains Gulliver with a machine. In the same time, Bloch has attacked. They are trying to kidnap Princess Mary and have started a fire at the palace. After they found out, they quickly went there. Edward quickly runs to the palace and orders everyone not to save the princess as he wants to be the one who saved her. But Horatio asks Gulliver to do it, because Edward can't reach her on time. Gulliver easily criticized the princess. But the king and his guard were stuck in a burning, so Gulliver came and tried to save the king, but Gulliver burned. Then he found that there was only one way to save him. He urinated on the building. After he criticized the king, he and his friend Horatio congratulated, and King invited them to celebrate this occasion. The king asks Gulliver where he is from, and he answers he is from Manhattan. The people assume that Gulliver was the president of Manhattan, as he is the bravest one there. Gulliver feels like a hero for the first time in his life, so he fabricates the story, claiming he was known as President the Awesome. Everyone believes him except for Edward. Next day, people of Lilliput build a massive home for Gulliver, with all the facilities he couldn't get when he was in New York. Gulliver also makes them build a theater to fit everyone in the kingdom. Then he shows them a drama of the sinking Titanic, claiming it to be the story of his life. Everyone is amazed by the tragic life that he has had. Edward inquires how he was saved after drowning, and Gulliver claims that he was resuscitated. After that, Horatio asks Gulliver to help him impress Princess Mary, and Gulliver agrees. The two went to the princess's place. Gulliver hid behind the building and began to tell Horatio what he should say to the princess. Gulliver made Horatio dance in front of her until she liked him. By the end of it, she is called by Edward, who has come to court her. The two have been destined to get married, as Edward is the bravest of the kingdom, but Princess Mary isn't fond of Edward. Then they told Gulliver that they found his boat. Gulliver comes to the boat and finds his phone is still working. He has 12 voice messages from Darcy. She told him that she knew about his fake articles and that she is angry. And she has to now sail on the same trail Gulliver came through to do the Bermuda Triangle research herself. Gulliver now doesn't want to go back to New York and face her, so he decides to stay in Lilliput. Edward is not happy about the decision and tells the king he is suspicious of Gulliver. The king dismisses him, claiming that he trusts Gulliver. The king gives Gulliver the title of the new general and demotes Edward to vice-general. A jealous Edward turns Lilliput's defense system off. They approach the kingdom through waters with a huge amount of boats, and now it is Gulliver's responsibility to stop them. He went to them through water, which was a little bit cold on Gulliver after he reached them. He told them to pretend that he is attacking them, but they passed him and hit him with cannons, but his body fired the bullets back at them and won. The people from Lilliput fulfill all of Gulliver's wishes. They even build a model of Times Square so he would feel at home. They change their clothing to match that of Gulliver's. Soldiers are appointed to cut his hair and give him massages. One night Edward barges into the princess's chamber. He claims that it is his right to come in any time because he courts the princess. The princess finally reveals that she doesn't love him and doesn't want him to court her in war. An angered Edward leaves to their enemies and asks for help from their king. After Edward's men have found the Gulliver's magazine, the Build Your Robot magazine. The bluff sign king agrees to help him build a robot using the book. To battle Gulliver, later Gulliver is at the model Times Square when the bells of the palace ring, suggesting an invasion. Gulliver gets ready to battle tiny people as the usual, but he found a small robot in front of him, and starting laughed. Then the small robot turns to be a huge robot being operated by Edward stands in front of him. Edward challenges. Gulliver has no way out but to accept. He tries to push the robot, but it is way stronger than him. It picks Gulliver up with his pants and makes him accept defeat. Gulliver also confesses that everything he said about him being the president is a lie. The king and the princess are surprised to have been betrayed by him. Edward sends Gulliver to a forbidden place. When Gulliver is left there, he found a big house and then he is picked up by a giant little girl. Turns out the island is the home of giants. When the enemies captured Lilliput, at the same time they found a big girl named Darcy. Gulliver has told everyone that Darcy is his princess, so Edward recognizes her. After Horatio sees this, he decides to travel to the island where Gulliver sent to get him back. After Gulliver woke up, he found himself in a Barbie house, dressing him in girly pink clothes. The big girl thinks that Gulliver is a toy. She started playing by him and making a tea party with him, until he found his friend Horatio, who told him that they found another big girl named Darcy. So Gulliver decides to go back by using the parachute to escape and fly back to Lilliput. He first goes to meet Darcy in the prison and confesses that he has a crush on her. She forgives him for plagiarizing the article and seems to be opening up to him. Gulliver has decided to challenge Edward. He doesn't want to prove his bravery anymore, but genuinely wants to help Lilliput. The following day, the two stand before each other, ready to battle. Gulliver wants Edward to give the kingdom back to King Theodore if he wins, but if he loses, Edward will destroy the kingdom altogether. The two fight and Edward overpowers him. Within seconds, Horatio runs to help him and manages to get inside the robot. He defeats Edward from inside, eventually depowering the robot. After that, Gulliver easily manages to defeat it. and everyone was happy. After that, Horatio confessed his love to her, so the king allowed him to take her. And the same thing happened with Gulliver, and after that Gulliver and Darcy went and everyone said goodbye, as well as Horatio, who cries because he will never see his friend again. They returned to New York with an article in their mind, which became the most popular article there.